Economist Ben Stein joins me now. Good to see you, Ben.
Honored to be here.
What do you think of Senator Durbin going after the president and making it seem like Vladimir Putin is better as a leader?
I think it's extremely unfortunate. This is a time when the country needs to be unified. We face extreme threats from North Korea, in a way like Hitler with nuclear weapons. It's a time for us to be pulling together. I think these were cheap shots by Mr. Durbin. He could have said, I find fault with Mr. Trump, but we've got to all pull together. America has got to be the United States of America more now than ever.
Yeah, you're right, Ben. You didn't hear the criticisms of Vladimir Putin, how he's treated his own people. President Trump...
Oh, it's unspeakable. It's unspeakable. It's unbelievable what he's done.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, Russia's economy is half the size of France, and it's smaller than India. Russia has rolling recessions. We're going to get to that story in a moment. But first, Ben, I'd like to hear what President Trump said today about pressing Putin on Syria. Let's take a listen.
We have made this clear to everyone. We've certainly made it clear in our discussions with Russia that we do not think Syria can achieve international recognition in the future, even if they work through a successful political process. The international community simply is not going to accept a Syria led by the Assad regime.
All right, we got that ceasefire brokered right now in the southwest of Syria. What more can we expect from Russia on this?
I don't think we can expect much at all. You know, it's interesting. People in America often don't know. Russia has a long time, very close relationship with Syria. They had a huge base in Latakia, I hope I pronounced this right, Latakia in Syria. There are a lot of Russians there married to Syrian women. It's really, Syria is in a way almost a province of Russia, and Russia is not going to back out of the way and let us be in charge there. And as to a ceasefire in some remote desert area, nobody's going to know whether that's happening or not. I think Syria is just a hopeless basket case of violence. Bashar Assad will never give in. He is a tough guy, and he's never, ever going to give in. If he's got Russia backing him up, I don't think there's any chance of getting him out of there. I love Rex Tillerson. He's one of my favorite people in the government, but I think he's being a little too optimistic.
Yeah, and to your point, I think it's been well reported that Russia seeks to use Syria's ports as a major naval base to dominate the Mediterranean.
Major.
That's right.
Major.
President Trump also spoke to Russia about North Korea. Roll tape.
I call it the peaceful pressure campaign. A lot of people like to characterize it otherwise, but this is a campaign to lead us to a peaceful resolution. Because if this fails, we don't have very many good options left. We're asking North Korea to be prepared to come to the table with an understanding that these talks are going to be about how do we help you chart a course.
Is the Secretary of State right, Ben?
North Korea is probably the least trustworthy person in the world. They have ripped us off over and over again. We've made deal after deal with them where we bribed them to suspend, stop, or reverse their nuclear program. We've given them enormous amounts of food, fuel, money. It never works. The Kim family is not to be trusted. This is a family of unparalleled brutality towards their own people and everyone around them. We're not going to get Russia to help us. We're not going to get China to help us. We have got to be prepared to defend ourselves. There is absolutely no excuse at all for America not building an anti-ballistic missile system to protect us from their missiles. There's no excuse for it at all. We can't afford our own salvation. We've got to do it.
Let's get to the Dow, jumping 94 points today to close out a winning week after June's much better than expected jobs report. Fox Business Wall Street Week has a big interview tonight with billionaire investor Mark Mobius, who says more could come. Let's listen.
I don't think health reform is going to come easy. It may not happen. But I think the tax reform will take place before the end of the year. I believe that's something that is quite possible.
They want to lower taxes regardless.
Exactly.
And do you think that moves the needle in economic growth, tax
Definitely.
cuts?
It has a big... That combined the reduction of bureaucracy and impediments to growth within the small and medium sector is very important.
You know, Ben, let's just get to the president's reform agenda. Should he be cheerleading this jobs report, or should he be saying, you know, the monthly average at 180,000 or so is trending down? It's lower than 2014, 2015, and 2016. We're going in the wrong direction in terms of long-term jobs growth. So maybe the president should not be cheerleading it. He should be saying, hey, this is why we need tax reform and health reform right now, the Trump agenda. What do you think?
We definitely need tax reform. We need to get rid of the corporate income tax. That should not have been in there. It's a relic from World War II. We don't need it. Health care is not going to affect, reform is not going to affect the economy at all, at least in my humble opinion. I think the economic numbers are incredibly good, and I want to say I'm probably the least biggest fan of Barack Hussein Obama, but I think his economic policies work quite well. I think they're being continued, whether or not he admits it, by President Trump. We have a huge, huge, huge deficit finance boom, and I don't think we can do much better than we're doing now. I mean, we've got very, very good employment, very, very good corporate profits with no inflation to speak of. We are sort of in a charmed golden era. I think we should be cheerleading it, and we should be very, very grateful for it and for the policies that led to it.
You just got to watch the interest costs on that massive debt load now, surpassing the debt. The debt is $20 trillion. You're right. You know, getting back to
it's
Congress,
scary. It's terrifying.
You're
it's
right.
Terrifying.
So here's
terrifying.
the thing. Now, is it easier to play for Congress to play D.C. gotcha politics and talk about, you know, Russian meddling? And Russian meddling is very bad. The authorities should go after Russia big time, and they are via sanctions. So, but is it easier for Congress to get, you know, bogged down in the D.C. swamp of gotcha politics and not do the heavy lift of things like tax reform or Obamacare reform? Is that what's been going on, Ben?
You are completely correct. Legislators, like all other human beings, are lazy. It's much easier to sit back, see something on one of the other news networks that isn't quite as honest or fair and balanced as this one, and then say gotcha on that, instead of actually delving into the tax code. I used to be a tax lawyer. It is so difficult. It is so incredibly hard to work on that stuff. Easier to say gotcha, but we've got to get some congressmen and senators, congresswomen, congressmen, and senators who will go in there and do that hard work. The tax system is not a terrible tax system. It can be made better. But I think in the meantime, we've got to be proud of the progress we've made. We have come so far since the meltdown of almost 10 years ago. It's a miracle.
Thank you, Ben Stein. We love having you on the show. Come back soon.
Love being on. Thank you so much.
And again,